Alright, so today I wanted to talk about another manhwa that I've been reading recently that has been getting more popular as well. It's another revenge manhwa, so if you watch my other video, you'll know that I love revenge manhwas or storylines or plots and etc. Mainly because when the character is bent on revenge, they get really strong and they get really resolute and they care much less about other people. And I just think it's really dope because it allows them to be more ruthless to people who deserve it, you know what I mean? As opposed to other MCs that are kind of like wimpy. Revenge mangas have those badass MCs. Anyways, this one is called Rooftop Swordmaster. I'm not gonna worry too much about spoilers in this episode because if you are watching this video, you probably read it already. There's no way you would have found this video unless you have read it. So real quick, the artwork is pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's decent. It has like a nice modern kind of gritty feel. It's very fitting. What's going on is that this kid, he basically gets bullied by a bunch of like rich kids that have like powerful standings and families and stuff like that. And essentially it gets to the point where like he gets really fucked up in terms of that his parents get like burned alive in front of him, and it's like broadcasted because people are stupid and they record the whole thing instead of like helping, you know what I mean? So he gets hurt really hard physically and emotionally, and he basically becomes a shut-in, while these kids basically just get a slap on the wrist because they have rich families and powerful families. So they just go to juvie for like a few months or something like that, or to the US. I don't really know exactly what happens, but I know is that they don't get punished that much, while he basically has his parents taken away from him. And now I don't know where he gets housing and stuff like that, but he basically is living on top of the roof, hence the name Rooftop Swordmaster. And he's just a shut-in, so he just lives in there. He doesn't really have any purpose right now. He doesn't know what to do or why he's here, etc. These kids, they're gonna come back to the US, or not to the US, they're gonna come back to Korea, and they feel like they've been wronged because they're spoiled kids, etc. They think he did something dirty to them because they had to spend X amount of months in juvie. So they're pissed, they're gonna come back and they're probably gonna beat the shit out of him or something like that. But lo and behold, an alien space sword comes out of nowhere and lands on his roof, right? So now we know things are gonna get like crazy, we just don't know how. But essentially, this sword lands on top of his roof, and MC, not knowing what to do, is kind of like stunned. The artists and authors kind of go into this really interestingly. I think the normal thing would have been to just grab the sword, but they kind of play with it, the process, so they make it so the MC doesn't actually touch the sword for a long time. Instead, he's just kind of trying to like gauging it and stuff like that, because the sword periodically, every day, kind of sets itself on fire. And it lights like everything on fire, and he's basically just putting it out and then like not really doing anything, not even really touching it, which kind of makes sense. But I think like you or me would have just grabbed this sword as soon as I saw it, you know what I mean? Just out of curiosity. But yeah, that happens. It's quite comical though, so there's some good scenes in there because it's pretty funny. But anyways, eventually he does grab the sword, and once he does, he gets flashbacks from its previous owner, which is basically this badass alien space dude who kills a bunch of stuff and gets really buff and stuff like that. But the previous owner also kind of talks to him in like telepathic messages, telling him to train or how to train and things like that. And so it gets pretty exciting because you know he's about to fuck shit up, you know what I mean? So he trains and he gets buff, but really buff. And I'm not talking just like 6 foot, 200 pound buff. He gets like 10 foot, like 500 pound, like can't be killed by bullets, missiles, etc. buff. So he's basically like a superhuman at this point. And keep in mind, he's like 14, 15, or 16. So he looks ridiculously giant compared to how he should look and how he did look before. He's basically a superhuman now, thanks to this sword, which we don't entirely know the full properties of yet. But yeah, we'll just go with it, you know? But essentially, we know at this point that things are gonna get good, things are gonna get real fun, and things are gonna get pretty fucking badass, because these kids are gonna come back and they have no idea like what has changed about him, right? So he has basically made a vow to kill all these people, all their families, everything that has to do with them, and then anyone that stands in his way. And then, if that doesn't get you like, then maybe this thing isn't just for you. He's gonna get revenge for his parents. We know it's gonna happen because just as the storyline goes, we know they're gonna get, it's just how these things go, they're gonna die. But we're curious to see how it all plays out because it can go so many different ways, and the author has a lot to reveal. We don't know anything about the sword, really. We don't know anything about the company that's been keeping him up in the roof, and we have a long way to go until, things finally conclude. So it's pretty exciting to see how it develops. It's pretty interesting as well, and yeah, the MC is pretty dope now. So anyways, let me know what you guys think of the premise, the exposition, etc. And if it's something you'd read, or if you've read it already, where you expect kind of the manhwa to go. But yeah, that's it for me today. I will see you guys in another video. Peace.